All right. Every time I have Foster Freeze on, a lot of people ask, he's a power broker. He hates the term. He hates the term influential party figure, even though he is. He's very modest, even with his considerable wealth and his considerable influence. If that were me, it'd be a very different story. But, of course, it's not me. It is Foster Freeze. He's a powerful connector in this party, where Republicans are going to be hashing it out tomorrow and seeing who gets the upper hand. And, Foster, you and I were talking during the break. There does seem to be a creative war back and forth, certainly among Democrats, about coming up with ways to raise more money, to get more money. Not so in cutting more money, cutting more funding. And I always wonder if they expended a tenth the effort to come up with ways to save the government money rather than give the government money, we might be on our way. What do you think?
Well, I think it's also part of trying to get the little guy who feels he's been cheated because he's not rich. Isn't it interesting you don't hear much about the 1% anymore, and Hillary Clinton was to make $28 million, she and Bill, and so the 1%, that's kind of gone away.
Well, it's the .02 now.
Yeah.
Something like that. But now she obviously is looking at ways to get higher taxes. But what my issue is the fair share argument. It used to be the fair share was when we lifted the top rate back to what it was, 39.6%. We lifted it again with these Medicare and related health taxes to pay for the Affordable Care Act. And now we're lifting it again. And I'm just wondering, that is a moving target. And it worries me because I generally don't see it stopping at millionaires.
I think when you ask people of all economic levels, they believe a fair share is 25%. You ask lower income people. And so the whole idea of fairness really isn't what's at stake. It's how do you gain power and how do you use the rhetoric to demonize people of success. Why would we be better off if Bill Gates was making less than half the money?
Do you think there should be a separate standard, let's say, for the 400 richest or the really uber rich, and they pay a higher rate or a defined rate, a Buffett rule rate? You know what I'm saying?
You're not going to like what I'm going to say, but basically some of these people ought to get a tax payment from the government for all the employment they're providing. We ought to be subsidizing these Bill Gates type guys, because look what they've done for economy. Just think of what you and I can do with emails and the Microsoft products or Apple. I mean, this goofy telephone. I say, how many calories in a oatmeal dish? And they'll tell me 129.
You know, I was just doing that this morning. How many calories in my oatmeal dish?
The other day I asked, can a CR2032 battery be replaced by CR2025 battery? It told me.
Really?
And so, yeah, so why do we want to...
You've got some time on your hands.
Why do you want to demonize these
I mean,
people?
obviously it is a war on the rich, and Republicans then, I think sometimes are deliberately goaded to then defend the rich. And then if you're Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders, as you see, there they are defending the rich and how wonderful they are when it's nothing about you, the common man. It's about them and their rich buddies. How do they answer that?
Well, basically, look at all the common man that are wealthy. I came out of the Army with $800 of accumulated leave pay. Lynn cut my hair, scrubbed the floors, sewed the kids' clothes.
Does she still cut it now?
Yeah, no, that was one of my big...
She has better things to do.
That was my big moment when I could get my own barber. I was moving up in the world. So I just think if you look at all wealthy people, go to Horatio Alger Society and find out all those people started with very humble beginnings.
I don't doubt you, but I'm seeing there is definitely a populist divide here. One party's campaigning, the rich have really goaded the system and pushed this gap to extremes that cannot be tolerated. And the other side that gets the appearance of being apologists for those same great guys.
That's one of the reasons why I'm a big Santorum fan. In his book, he talks about the Republicans have finally honed the message of the job creator. It appeals to 5% of the population.
Still like him?
I love the guy.
All right,
absolutely.
So if he does poorly in Iowa, then what?
But keep in mind now, he's almost 1%. Neil, if he can just get one more percentage point, he'd at least be tied with low-fat milk.
But, you know, the argument is, you know, he might be the passing fad. He came out of nowhere. We could argue about whether people had known right away that he was the Iowa winner last go-round. It might have been a different race. We don't know. We do know that they've moved on to the Ted Cruz's and Donald Trump's. What do you do in that event?
Well, let me tell you why Donald Trump's so successful. You're on a 3-week vacation. You come home, there's 200 raccoons in your basement. You call the exterminator guy. He comes over, you don't care if he's got alcohol in his breath, he's married 3 times, or he's rude or boisterous, or if he's got plumber's crack. You just want the raccoons out of the basement. So basically, I think...
I take it you've had this scenario at the Freeze compound?
But I mean, he's appealing to the idea that they just want the problem solved. And
so what's wrong with that?
And the raccoons in the basement are basically all the... Can you imagine imagine.
So you could support Trump if he were the nominee. You could support.
Oh, look, I mentioned to Rick early on, and he encouraged me. He encouraged me to donate to other candidates. He personally said that.
There's no way he lets you.
He said, and I haven't done it. I haven't done it. Well, anyway, that's what he said. But this guy loves America, and you look at everything he represents.
So he does poorly in Iowa. You think he's going to go to you and say, Foster, I know it's time for you to move on?
Well, I think. You remember, I think he's going to go as long as he possibly can. Remember, McCain went to New Hampshire carrying his own bag.
Yeah.
So I think Rick is...
When's the last time you did that?
I mean, I carry my bag every place I go.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Foster, always good seeing you. And your lovely wife, I had a chance to meet her.
Oh, I've got a little secret. You know, we've been married for 54 years. Here's the idea. You got to keep romance in a relationship. So twice a week without fail, Lynn and I go out for dinner. Candlelight, soft music, dancing. She goes on Tuesday, I go on Friday.
Lawyers! Foster, thank you very, very much.
It's fun to be with you.
Look forward to chatting with you the next couple of days.